Welcome to the lab. My name's Corey, and in this video, we're tackling Monster Bash 3. So at the beginning of this month, I saw Trent from Miscast put out a video saying, hey, Monster Bash 3 is going to be going on this month, and anybody who wants to participate, here's the links for all the art. So I was like, yep, I've watched the last two for the last couple of years, and I really want to be a part of it. So I'm doing it. I've got my whole workbench now. Let's get into this thing. Hey there. Okay, sorry for the sound quality. I've ordered a new microphone, and hopefully it'll be in this weekend. But I need to record this right now so that I can start thinking about this and then actually doing this when I have time this month. This is Monster Bash 3. So I'm pretty excited to actually try this out. I'm going to do it a little differently than shuffling the cards. I thought it might be fun to lay all the paper out and then kind of roll dice on them and see where the dice land, and then based upon the number, maybe weight that card more than the other attributes to see what should be the biggest idea in the creature. We'll see whether or not I stick with that, but I'm going to try it, and we'll see what we land with. I'm going to break out my phone because I'm going to record this close up, too, so that I can get some images of what I actually got. So, I've got 7 dice. This is what we're going to do. I'm actually going to move this a little bit. There we go. You don't need to see my face for this, right? No. Okay. Dice number 1. I'm gonna say that was on this thing. Weird cactusy. Oh, you know, I should probably press record on my phone. Forgot about that. Weird cactusy thing. Got a value 5. It's gonna have lots of thorns. Okay. Where do I want to go next? Go this way. Nope. Too hard. Gotta be more gentle on these dice. Oh, that wasn't even really a roll. Okay, weird fur or abyss. Alright. Dropping my phone. Sorry about that. Now what does it count? Okay. Alright, got a 5 on the computer head dude. Let's go over to this side somewhere. Eyeballs. See the peacock or the eyes. Gosh, I'll go with all of the eyes. I kind of like those. It's in between. It's in between I'm picking. I actually bounced off of this one anyway, so. I don't know, I'm going to close my eyes. There it lands. Went all the way over here again. Beard. Okay, it's got a 2. Got beard hair. Weird tree branch hand thing. Okay. And last one. I don't know where it's gonna go. Goopy. Goopy. Okay. Goopy. Not sure if I like that or not. I really like this head. The beard, the eyes, the head. Goopiness. Waxy. I'm gonna stick with it. Quick close up here. Really furry. It's supposed to be very furry. Waxy. Lots of 5s on here. So it looks like it's actually going to be evenly distributed if I go with the numbers, or I'll just go where the dice landed. We'll see. I think this was a fun way to do it anyways. Let me get a close-up on this camera in case my phone doesn't pick it up well enough. Just because I'm already recording. We got the weird, creepy tree hand, a bunch of fur, the goopy face, cactus. I was actually hoping to roll this, so I'm glad I got it. I know I kind of rolled in the area, but I landed on it, so I'm happy. And I don't know, the TV head just spoke to me, and the beard and the eyes. So we'll see where that goes. And then I did like a 2-minute scribble the following day to figure out what like my concept was going to be for that. Man, it was weird. It's been a project. It's been a hell of a project. I did a lot in this project that I've never done before. I've never sculpted before, so therefore I've never done an armature. I've never created. Well, I mean, I've created other stuff, so I guess I can't say I haven't created an original piece. But like, this is very unique. This seems like something you'd see on like a Nickelodeon TV show or something. No, it's weird. Because it was so weird, I wanted to do a really vibrant paint scheme. I don't know. There's a lot, and I've got a lot of footage I'm going to be cutting up of me putting this thing together, and I'm sure I'll talk about it then. So I guess I won't cover it too much now. The one thing I will mention is he wasn't going to be the only part of this. I was going to make a base for him. I have him in kind of a dynamic pose. Supposed to look like he's like flopping, walking forwards, which is why this foot down here is curved. And the base is actually underneath the camera right now that I started, but I had never used Sculptamold before. And lo and behold, it takes a hot minute to dry. And I had 2 days to work on this guy. 2 days. Every other day during the time frame that I could have worked on him, I couldn't. I was either out, I went on a small vacation with my girlfriend for a couple of days, or working overtime. I still have a lot of more overtime to work. Basically, I haven't been home. So I only had this past weekend, total of 2 days, 48 hours to work on this guy. He himself took 30 hours of my weekend. And I got 11 hours of sleep between last night and the night before. So, you know, it's a big project. I didn't realize he was going to take me so long, but I'm real proud of him. He's so much fun. He's very janky, but in the most endearing way possible. I love every bit of him. He's so weird. I guess I'm just going to get into how I made him. I hope you enjoy this guy. Oh man. So step 1 of our process was to make the body. That plaque you see under there, the wooden plaque, is what I was going to use for the base. So I used that kind of as a judge of how big I was going to limit myself in making this thing, because I know I wanted to make it a large model. So I just crumpled up a bunch of aluminum foil, roughly shaping it in the direction that I wanted to go. I know this thing was going to be like some weird kind of goopy slug, at least in body shape. So that's what I started with. A big old fat worm body. And then I realized that I didn't want the monitor screen inside the main body, so I gave it a little back here. I'm building out so that I would have something that protruded that the monitor screen would stick to. And it was interesting making this. It definitely learned a, having this shape and trying to make it 3D. Armature wire was a lot more pliable than I thought it was going to be, but that was really good for the most part. I realize now that limbs, I should have something more substantial and sturdy. So for the shell, I used some armature wire with the ring, and I made sure that the fur would still sit inside it nicely. I didn't want the shell to be too big. And then I gave it a solid shape with the aluminum foil. You'll see me here pinching the edges because I wanted to build up some of the outer ring of the shell, kind of making it somewhat similar to a tortoise shell.
turtle shell, whichever. But instead of panels on the back, it was going to be fur. Then I used some super glue to basically glue in all of the edges to attach the shell so it wouldn't move. And then I took this body here. Let me do it in a second here. Forgot that. Yeah, there we go. Grabbed some more aluminum foil and made sure to give it a nice clean wrapping outside of that so that the shell and the body would be one piece. Then I cut some more armature wire for the limbs. I roughly measured out how large I wanted the limbs to be. I wanted them to be long and kind of wibbly wobbly looking, squiggly, wavy. That's the word I'm looking for. Wavy looking. Because they were supposed to be kind of vines. Didn't really want to give it joints. Then I used a couple of my shaping tools actually to drill out some areas in the armature for the armature wire in the main body, so that I'd have a spot for the legs to be. Putting them in all the holes here. I super glued them in as well with a lot of super glue. Thought it looked like a plane. And then I bent the legs into the shape. I glued some stuff down onto the base, a couple of chunks of foam that I wanted to look like rock or something. And that's basically as far as that base got. I mean, I covered it in sculpt mold, but past that, I haven't done anything with it because I was waiting for it to dry and I knew it just wouldn't be done in time. I think it's still damp. This is like day 3 now. And the board is definitely warped, so I should have clamped it down. I don't know, I messed up. Look at all of that super sculpey. I have no idea what I'm going to use all of this on, but I have it now, so I'll probably be making details with this stuff moving forward, because it's here. I love how it separates. It comes in these thin sheets. Like, I thought it was going to be one solid brick, but they're actually just a bunch of these thin strips that come in, what is that, 10 per layer, and it's all separatable. It's awesome. And apparently it lasts forever if you keep it well sealed, so it's staying wrapped up in that wrapper in that box underneath my desk out of light for as long as I have this stuff. I did not use all that I grabbed. By the way, I used so little. And then I started experimenting with it. I took some of the Super Sculpey and some of those eyes that I got. These are glass with a paper back. I wanted to test to make sure that they would still come out fine if they went into the oven. So I made a flat back, and then I started shaping. I put 2 flat pieces on either side of the eye that covered it to make it look like eyelids, and then I smoothed them into each other, and then I used this shaper tool that I had in order to sketch in some wrinkles to make them look like proper eyelids, and also push the lids back so that you can see more of the eye. And then I took a large one and a small one just to make sure they would both be fine, and I popped them in the oven for like 15 minutes, and they both came out just fine. The Sculpey cured and set, solidified, and the eyes looked exactly the same. So you buy these same ones, make sure you get the glass ones, they'll look great. You see them up there at the top. I used everything I could to try to flatten out the Sculpey. Didn't really need to. I just, for large chunks of the armature, you want flat pieces so that you can cover up a lot like that as fast as possible. And then you smush and smooth it in so that it sticks and it really becomes part of the mass of whatever sculpture you're making, I guess. And I really wanted to lean into the weird vibe, so You'll see as we go along, this thing looks very cartoony, and I love it. But I started with the shell because that was just the simplest area to get to first. And then I did the ring of the shell, put a layer down there. And I went over these areas a couple of times if I thought they were too thin. You don't want it to be too thin. You don't want it too thick because then it gets heavy or it won't cure right. You need it to be in the oven for longer. But you do not want it too thin either. Then it's very likely to crack and break. You see here I covered up most of the body with Sculpting at this point and smoothed it all together to look like it was one piece. You don't want any separation in the sculpture. Time for a snack. It's always important to have a snack. Then I went back to the eyes. You'll see I already attached a couple. I didn't get good footage of it. I had to cut it. But after I covered the body, I ended up putting on chunks of clay and then taking my finger and pressing and swiping, pulling down, and then pushing back up. And that's what gave the sides and the body and everything the weird, goopy, waxy look. That's how I got that texture to be that way. The eyes I'm building right into the body due to the one card that had like eyes everywhere. I forgot to mention it. You see there I've got two other armature wires that are covered in clay now. Those are going to be eye stalks. Kind of like a slug or a snail, I guess. Then that was baked, and then I worked on the legs. Here I flattened out a piece, and then I laid it along the wire, and then I kind of pinched it around, and then smoothed that all together in order to evenly coat the wire in the Sculpey. There were obviously a couple of areas that were too thin, but yeah. And then when that was baking, I started making a ton of thorns. I knew the legs were going to be covered in thorns, at least as much as I could get on them without it looking ridiculous and still be able to maintain it. Made a bunch of those. It got out of the oven, and then I sculpted on the weird bark root-like feet. Not really toes. They're supposed to separate like roots, but you know. I tried to get them to look as close as possible. It still looks like vegetation. I don't know if they look like roots, but it still looks like vegetation. Then I added in all of the thorns, which was a bit of a pain. And then I sprayed down the mustache with some glue to make sure that it was toughened up and it wouldn't just come apart. Then I went and I bought some basically silly putty. It was called color putty. It was cheap from the dollar store. It was literally $1. It worked amazing as masking material. All of it came off the eyes when the painting was done, and I was able to mush it back up, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to use it again later. And I really used almost nothing. Always wear a respirator when using an airbrush, especially for a long time. You do not want to be breathing this stuff, especially if you're like me and you do not have ventilation for your airbrush. I have no airbrush hut. Primed everything in black primer. Probably could have done it in white. Honestly, it doesn't matter. Well, actually, it does matter because I used a lot of inks, so I wanted to make sure the black was there in order for there to be good shadows. Then I highlighted everything heavily in a white ink, just to make sure that the highlights were going to be very, very bright. I wanted a contrast between the dark and the white, so then I used the fluorescent blue ink for the shadows of the main body. And I gave it several coats so that the black would look like a dark blue. And then I highlighted the body from above with a fluorescent pink. I specifically chose colors that were reactive with a UV light. And you'll see why later. And then I used a fluorescent, actually golden acrylic paint. Stuff's made for an airbrush. I've brushed it on things before with an actual brush, but it's very liquidy. It's definitely made for an airbrush. For the rim of the shell, and you can see I had a card there to block off the body when I knew that Eagle was going to be a little too dangerous. I didn't want to get a ton of spray on the body. Then I used a golden acrylic fluorescent green paint to paint all of the limbs. And then you can see I touched up the feet with a little bit of orange. I wanted it to look brown. The television, I painted the rim solid black, and then I used some of that black and a bit of a marker to dot the face to give it kind of a static TV look. And then I used some washes. I used brown wash, an umber wash on the feet, a green wash on all the limbs, and a red wash on the shell. I wanted there to be a little bit more definition than just the flat color. And I painted all the thorns white, and then I covered all of those with a mixture of paint, medium, and this pigment that I have called Lit, which is this very bright green pigment that also heavily glows in the dark. It's awesome. Use some UV resin for the screen of the monitor, make it look like glass. I don't know whether it's the cheap resin I got or the cheap UV light I got. That stuff took forever to cure. I think it's still a little sticky. Then I used the paper that I had laying out there, cut a direct shape of the back of the shell, taped that to the fur that I had, and cut that out. And then I super glued that fur onto the back, and then I super glued the mustache underneath the monitor. I missed getting footage of both of those things. Well, that's what I did to put this guy together. It was a lot of work, but I don't regret any of it. And I've got, gosh, so much Super Sculpey. I ordered the whole block because I wasn't sure. Well, A, there wasn't any smaller sizes on Amazon when I was looking. But B, I was like, oh yeah, sure, I can use them in the future. I didn't realize how little I would be using on this. There's a lot. I learned from it too. I really like what I did for these vines. Obviously the stability isn't super great, and the armature wire I used was, while it was nice that it was bendable for some things, also not nice that it was so bendable. I fractured this a little bit. You can't see it unless you're looking for it. There's a little crack there, and it's not going to cause any issues as long as it doesn't become any wider, simply because I accidentally dropped it on that leg at one point. So I can't wait until the base is done so that I can have that propped up properly and have these feet glued in place so he's not all wobbling around. I'm trying to leave him still. Base isn't going to be anything super special. I'll probably release another little short video whenever I get around to finishing it. I'm waiting for the Sculpting mold to finish drying, and then I'm basically going to paint it and cover it in some ground texture and put some flowers and stuff on it. My idea was, I have these really cool, hold on, let me grab them, tussa grass that I never, I don't know what I'm going to do with, but I ordered because they were fun looking. These alien ones. This sheet of alien grass. And, well, they match. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have this, boring, normal field. I'm going to make it look as cool as I can. I've got some because I wanted to play around with it. I visited the model train store when I was on vacation, like I was talking about. And so I found this static grass beginner's kit. I almost bought the whole like static grass shaking thing, you know, with the electric, and I'm sure that would look cool. I've never used it before. The guy suggested just using this shaker. So I'm gonna see if I can get this to look any good. It was $10, or $16 versus the $120 for the shaker, which I'll, you know, if I like it, I'll get it. And so I got that and a few different things of static grass, but I thought I would make it look like normal ground covering, and then put this stuff like around his feet to make it look like where he's touching, it's changing via magic or something. I made him look like he's supposed to be this weird, surreal dream nightmare monster thing that, you know, is obviously oozing with magic and mischief. Like, I don't know, he looks angry and mischievous, and I don't know. He's nice to pet. His fur on the back. If you have any tips or tricks to using Sculpey or Sculpt Mold, I'd love to hear them. Please leave a comment below. Also, comment any names you can come up with this guy. While I was making him, I called him a goop turkey, because unpainted, when he was put in the oven, the Sculpey looks like a turkey, especially the shape of his body. It's just, but now that he's all finished up like this, hit me up with some names. I'd love to hear them. I can't think of anything. I got no idea. Obviously, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more of this weird stuff as I figure out what I like to do in this hobby, subscribe, because there's going to be more videos. They're not all as wild as this, but they've all been a lot of fun so far. So until next time, experiment with your hobby. Oh, I don't want to forget to mention, I mentioned him up front. Check out Trent from Miscast. Go to his channel right now. Go watch all of the Monster Bash 3 stuff that he's going to be putting out. I'm sure he's going to link to it. He's got a ton of friends in this hobby community that have all contributed to previous Monster Bashes. Go watch all of the old videos and go watch all the new ones that are coming out. He seems like a really cool dude. He's easy to reach out to and talk to. I mean, just asking for general suggestions, like what microphone to use. He got back to me like immediately. Great tips. Just watch his stuff. He's a cool dude. At least he seems like he's a cool dude, so. Get out of here. Go hobby. I'm done with you.